Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we simulated the rest of the season. We did make ourselves an interesting trade, basically acquiring Pavel Datsyuk to make us better defensively on our third line and also maybe give us a little bit of offense, and he did quite well with our team. So I'm hoping that that line continues to play good defensively, because obviously we moved on from Yakupov, who wasn't great defensively. So that was pretty much our main weakness, I would say, is defensive play in the bottom six. And Pavel Datsyuk came in and played pretty good defensively. So if he could do anything like that in the playoffs, that will help out quite a bit. As for our team in general, we are still rocking a little bit of a weaker defensive core in a way, but it's still pretty good. We do have guys we could call up if we really need to. We do have a good goaltending tandem and obviously a pretty solid forward group. So this team's looking pretty good, but we are going to have a pretty tough task in this first round of the playoffs, because we are going to be taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Now, Colorado only finished 1 point above us in the standings, but you can see on a little bit of a matchup comparison, they were not that great offensively during the season, but they were a very good defensive team, at least 5-on-5. Their special teams are kind of a mixed bag, so I think this series could be pretty even, but there's definitely a thing that looks kind of crazy with the Avs, and that's that their roster definitely looks a lot better offensively than they actually were during the season. So if we look at this roster, you can see on paper, Stastny, Duchene, and Brad Richards. Obviously, Brad Richards is pretty old at this point, probably in one of his last seasons, but he's still producing on a good level because he's next to Duchene and Stastny. Second line has a young Carter Verhaeghe with a young Sean Monahan and also a young Vladimir Tarasenko, so very nice second line. This third line is probably one of the best third lines we've seen. Yuri Tolusti somehow went up to an 85 overall. He's playing next to Ryan O'Reilly and Vyacheslav Goldobin. And then this fourth line has our former guy Carl Hagelin with Nick Bukestad and also Victor Rask. So just in general, that forward group has great depth down the middle and on the wings. And then their defensive core is quite strong as well. You can see with the Simmons guy with Wisniewski, Trouba, Leddy, Ehrhoff, Shattenkirk. Like, this team is really well built up. And then they also do have a solid goaltending tandem of Niemi and Jari. So I think this is going to be a tough series for sure, regardless of us having a great season. But I think whoever comes out of the series might have an easier time in round 2, 3, and maybe even the cup finals. Like, maybe whoever wins the series will end up having a deep run. The other one will obviously be playing golf in the off season. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to beat them and hopefully have a good playoff run this year. Obviously, just depends if these young kids are ready to take that next step or not. But anyways, with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into this first round matchup against the Colorado Avalanche. So the first and only comment is from Sauron Taku, says, unless some major cheese comes into play, I don't see how you beat Colorado. And I don't really think it's that much of a for sure Colorado's going to win type of thing. I think the main difference with Colorado is they're a good defensive team, and we don't really have the best defensive core on paper. Like, if we look at our defensive core compared to theirs, I would say obviously they have the huge upper hand because they have some really good defensemen in that top four. Like, basically our top four pairing here of Moss and Zherdev is almost as good as their top six pairing. So yeah, Colorado definitely a better defensive team. We have the better goaltending in terms of like overall ratings. Obviously it doesn't really matter when it comes to the playoffs. And then in terms of the offensive cores, I would say definitely they have maybe a little bit of a slight edge, but I think we're pretty similar teams. Because down the middle we're strong, on the wings we're strong as well, just like they are, but they might have maybe a little bit more high-end talent. I mean, Cameron and McKinnon are really good, so I'd still think this is pretty even offensively. Defensively, I would give it to them, and then goaltending is a toss-up, basically. Even though we technically don't have the better overalls, they could simulate better, so going to be interesting to see who ends up winning. I honestly have no idea what to expect. I do think this series should be relatively close, but it could end up being one of those series that you don't expect to be a quick series, and it's a 4-game series instead. Now, there is guys in the AHL we could call up if we get into trouble. Guys like Alto, Lowry, Shaw, Bemstrom, Schultz, Spalling even, for instance, Obergauer. On defense, Dolan, Rodriguez, Pareko, Tremblay. Like, we have a lot of guys we could go to. Also, Ricardo McClemick could come up for the playoffs if we really want to. So we have a lot of guys that we could turn to if there's any issues, but I think for right now, we'll probably keep it like our normal roster because it was a pretty good season for this team, and I'm hoping that we could just build upon it in this playoff run. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into this matchup and see who ends up winning the series. Like I said, I don't really know what to expect from the series. If Colorado has that defensive style that they did during the regular season, it's going to be a bit of a problem for us. But if we can find our offensive game that we had during the season, I think we could have a chance to beat them. So with that said, let's get to game number one on the road in Colorado. Colorado, like I said, just barely passed us in the standings. I think it was the last day of the season by 1 point. So that's why they have home ice advantage. But obviously, home ice advantage doesn't really mean too much when you get to the playoffs after all. So let's get to game number one and see if we can maybe find a way to win at least one of these 2 games in Colorado. And maybe that could set us up for some future success. First period, game number 1. 2-0 Avs. That's not what I wanted to see. Not what I wanted to see. Maybe Saturn Otaku's onto something. Maybe that was just a bad first period. But it seems like it's a consistent thing with our Oilers franchise mode, as we've had bad first periods in playoffs before. So I'm hoping we could kind of respond to that a bit. But Victor Rask opens the scoring, so that's a 4th-line goal for them, which is not great. And then Matt Duchene, obviously, in their top 6 scores to make it 2-0. Shots are 9-7, so pretty close in shots. But obviously, we're down by a pair of goals, so we need to have a decent second period here. We cannot allow them to score more goals. We need to get at least 1 in the second period to give ourselves a chance. Second period. 3-1. I mean, it's still pretty much the exact same type of thing. Fada did pull us within 1, but Duchene scores again. I felt like Duchene was going to be a problem because he's... in real life, he's also still, I mean, really skilled forward, really good at his... he's got really good hands. He could shoot. He could pass, like... yeah, Matt Duchene's kind of an underrated player when you think about it, even though he was drafted quite high up, but I still think he's kind of an underrated player in a sense. But anyway, shots are 20-16 in favor of us, so we're out shooting them, but we have not found that goal scoring that we did during the season, and they are playing that defensive game that they were during the season. Like I said, that's probably what's going to decide the series, is if Colorado continues to play good defensively like they were in the regular season. So with that said, let's get to the third period, see if we could find a way to get an early goal, and maybe that could give us a chance to still get back into this game. Third period underway. Come on, boys, let's get that next one. Penalty kill. You got to kill this off, please. And it's a long-ass penalty kill, and they scored right afterwards. Paul Stastny scores another one, and then Fada scores his second of the night. Fada continues to be good. Nyquist makes it 5-3 quickly, so we are still in this game. But those first 2 early goals of that third period, not good to give up, because we could have tied the game up if we would have been a bit more disciplined. And unfortunately, game number 1 is going to go to the Colorado Avalanche as we lose 5-3. Final shots 29-27. I'd say that's a pretty close game, but obviously we were trailing for most of it, so that didn't really help things. But I'm hoping our team can kind of learn from that in next game. Like I said, it would be nice to steal at least one of these games on the road, but if we don't, we need to find ways to at least win our next 2 home games. So hopefully we can do that. So Fada from Halinka and McKinnon, then we had Fada from McKinnon and Mackey, and Nyquist from Falk. So yeah, Fada has continued to being one of our better goal scorers and players. Hopefully we could get the other guys going a little bit too. McKinnon was solid, but we needed more out of our guys like Cameron. Cameron wasn't the best last year in the playoffs either, and he didn't have any points in this game. So I want to see some guys contribute a little bit more. And then, yeah, Vasilevsky kind of had a tough time here in his first playoff game of the year. Hopefully he's better in game 2. If he's not, maybe I give Ruskovich a game, but I think Vasilevsky obviously is the guy we should be kind of playing most of the time because he's such a high overall. So let's hope that he has a good response in game 2. But Stastny gets first star, Duchene second star, and Fada the third star. So at least Fada got a third star of the game. Like I said, Fada's been one of the more impressive players on this team. Had a really good goal scoring season, and he's continued that so far here in the playoffs as well. Alright, so I'm not going to worry too much about a bad first game of the series. I think, obviously, if we have bad 2 games in a row, then we can make adjustments. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of hope that this team can kind of learn from that first period in the last game. Because that first period in the last game, when you think about it, pretty much lost us the game. Also, the start of the third period and stuff like that. So, just got to find ways to play better defensively consistently. And then hopefully we can find a way to win maybe this game here in Colorado. And at least come out with a tie series before we head home. So, let's get to game number 2 and see if we could have a different type of outcome in this one. And if Vasilevsky can kind of find his game a little bit as well. First period, game number 2. 1-1. I mean, that's better than being down 2-0, but it does suck that they scored in the first period. We did open the scoring 58 seconds in on a power play goal from Tyler Toffoli, but Ryan O'Reilly answered back with 5 minutes to go. So, Pretty even first period. Shots are 11-7 in favor of us, so I guess we outplayed them a little bit, but not by much. It is a 1-1 game. Can we find a way to get that lead back in the second period? Second period? 2-1 us. We do have a lead going into the third. Brock Nelson scores. Brock Nelson's been a very good fit here, and yeah, he was really good for us last year in the playoffs, and so far he's got a goal already in the series, so that's pretty huge for our confidence that we're getting goal scoring from multiple lines at this point. Let's see what happens in the third period as we're up by a goal, and we're also only out shooting them by a shot, so it's still very even. We just got to find a way to get some insurance on this. Third period underway. Can we get insurance? Yes, we do. Immediately to start the third, Boone Jenner scores, and that's a pretty big goal from the fourth liner. Cameron Din scores as well. That's a nice one. So good to see Cameron on the board after I called him out last game for not having any points. It's a 4-1 game. So it looks like we're going to be able to at least take a game in Colorado before we head home, which is huge for our confidence. Maybe we could find ways to win both of our home games coming up as well. But we're going to win 4-1 in game 2. Final shots 33-31 in favor of us. And a nice third period gives us a pretty solid victory. So that's exactly the type of response I want to see from the team. Good offense and good defensive play. So Toffoli from Cameron and Nyquist, and we had Nelson from Toffoli and Falk, Jenner from Mackey and Fada, and Cameron from McKinnon and Fada. So yeah, Cameron with multiple points in that game. Fada had multiple assists in this game. So Fada is continuing to be one of those more underrated players on this team. Him, Toffoli, and Cameron all 2 points. A couple guys on 1 point. And nobody really badly plus minus. I'm hoping Datsu could kind of start picking up some offense a bit, but I don't think we gave him power play time, so it is what it is. And enters Vasilevsky with a 968, so a very good response from Vasi. Hopefully he continues to play like that. He actually gets first star of the game. Nelson the second star, and Cameron the third star. All right, so that's a great response, and that's why you don't make line changes after just one game. You have to wait and see if you play bad and consistent games, but now we got to find ways to win on home ice. If we could find ways to win on home ice, we could set ourselves up for some really good success. So that's why I'm hoping our team is able to do in this game and hopefully the next game as well. So with that said, let's get to game number 3 on home ice. Let's keep the team the same. We found a way to win last game. Let's see if we could ride that momentum into this game. So far, Fada is probably the best player on this team with 4 points in 2 games. We'll see if he's able to get anything going for us here in this game as well. First period, game 3. 2-0 Avs, back to the game 1 type of scenario, which is not great. So still having that inconsistent type of play where we have a good game, a bad game, a good game, a bad game, or vice versa. So Goldopin opens the scoring. Literally like 30 seconds later, Paul Stastny scores. So 2 quick goals on Vasi. We are getting completely outplayed after that first period as well. Shots are 15-5. So this is not what I was hoping for when we return to home ice. I thought we were going to all of a sudden start playing really good again. But it seems like right now we are kind of have our foot up our ass, so to speak. So got to find a good way to have a good second period and get back into this game. Just get 1 goal back. Don't worry about tying the game necessarily, but you need to at least get 1 goal back, and you cannot let them score any more goals at this point. Let's see if we can have a good second period and get back into this game. Second period, 3-0 Avs. Well, that's not great. We don't score any goals. Paul Stastny scores again. Seems like Stastny and Duchene have been a bit of a thorn in our side. Shots are 27-10 for them, so we're getting really badly outplayed in this one, which shouldn't be the case considering we're back on home ice, but we're not really showing out for our fans, which is good, so or not good. So we need to find ways to get back into this game. If we can't get back into this game, hopefully we can at least tie up the series in next game, but I don't really like losing a home game in a playoff scenario. But let's see what happens. Third period underway. See if we can crawl back into this game at any point. Just got to find a way to get 1 and 2, and then maybe we could get a third to tie this one up. Power play for us. We do not score on it. I feel like this is a game we're getting shut out in just based on this so far. Nikushkin gets on the board, so Val Nikushkin gets us a chance, but it's probably too late at this point. Final few minutes, Sean Monahan makes it 4-1. That's going to do it. The Colorado Avalanche are going to basically just do to us what we did to them last game as they beat us 4-1 this time around. So the consistency has not been there really with this team right now. We're allowing too many goals in some of these games, and then we're not scoring enough in some of these games either. So our only goal comes from a fourth liner in Big Val from Justin Falk. So we might have to think about some adjustments, even though it wasn't 2 losses in a row. Val was the only -2 player, and he had our only goal in only 5 minutes of ice time around, so we need to be better there. Vasi wasn't terrible in that game, but obviously he wasn't good either. So we need to figure some things out a bit. But yeah, Antti Niemi had a big response to the game in this game 3. So the good thing is we're only trailing down 2-1. If we didn't win that game in Colorado, we'd be down 3-0. So I do still feel okay right now, but I do think we need to maybe make some sort of an adjustment to try and find some more consistency in our game at the moment. So let's see what we could do here in terms of our lines, if there's anything. I don't think I could really fluctuate the top 6 that much, to be honest. I mean, I could maybe move Pavel Datsyuk to like second line center, and then Brock Nelson could be like a winger instead, but I don't know about doing that. Markou's been a good face-off guy. He's got 86 face-offs, but Datsuk's technically better on the draw, so maybe for a small adjustment, we'll try Datsuk down the middle just because he could maybe win more face-offs than Markou, even though Markou is a very good centerman. And then from a defensive standpoint, we haven't been super consistent, so let's not go with that. That would be terrible. Let's go with something like this, kind of split up Moss and Zherdev and do Mackey and Zherdev instead. Metro could play with Moss instead. And then from a goalie perspective, we will keep with Vasi, but he needs to find his game a little bit. I don't know if that's the defensive core to blame on, but let's hope that maybe some small adjustments like that could help things. Obviously, there's guys we could call up from the AHL, but I don't really know if it's the time that we really drastically need to call up guys at the moment. So anyways, with that said, let's see if we can respond. We've responded well after game 1, so if we could respond good after game 3, we could still make this maybe a 7-game series potentially. So can we find a way to respond to their last game? Let's get to game 4 and at least have a tie series before we head back to Colorado. Let's get her done, boys. We got to win for our fans here. We got to win for our fans. First period, game 4. And it's 1-0 Avs on 6 shots. I haven't been super sold on Vasi's playoff play this year. Last year, I think he wasn't very good either, if I remember right. The year before, he was good. So I don't know what's taking him so long to figure his game out in the playoffs, but he definitely isn't the same goalie as he was in the regular season. Shots are 9-6 in favor of us. It's only a 1-0 game, so we are still in this game. But we got to be careful giving them the lead early on, because once they have a lead, they're very good at playing defensive hockey and kind of locking us down. So can we respond in the second period and get back into this game? Second period. 1-1. We do tie it at 1. That's good. Justin Falk with 1:39 left. So nice to see a defenseman score. Shots are 18-16 in favor of us. It's an even Steven game. If we could just find a way to win this third period, it could be a best of 3 coming forward. So let's have a strong third period, and let's hope guys like Cameron can come through in the clutch. Third period underway. Come on, boys. Even Nathan McKinnon hasn't been super crazy in the series. He had 2 assists in game 1, but he hasn't scored a goal, I don't think, at all in the series, which is kind of weird. Penalty kill here in the third period. We do kill it off. Nicely done, guys. Penalty kill again. You got to be disciplined in the third period, boys. And we do kill that one off as well. And we will be going to overtime in game 4. I could technically jump in and watch this, but it's only game 4. I mean, we are only 18 minutes into this recording, so maybe I could jump in. You know what? Let's jump in. Let's jump in. I don't normally jump into early games if they're not elimination, really, but since this episode has been kind of short so far, we might as well jump in and see if our team could find a way to win here. So let's try and get ourselves to those 2016-17 era jerseys. So we will go with this jersey, and Colorado, we will go to this jersey, which is kind of a mid jersey for Colorado, but it's not the worst one, I guess, in the world. So we'll go with that. And we'll see if we're able to find a way to just get an overtime winner here. And then it might be a best of 3 going forward. So come on, McKinnon. Come on, everybody. Let's just get 1 goal. Find a way to win this game on home ice. I don't know if I'm jinxing it by jumping in, but I kind of wanted to jump in and just watch some more gameplay anyways, so we might as well. All right, Cameron wins the faceoff. Here is Holinka over to Nathan. Nathan McKinnon can't get it up. Simmons will take it away, but Falk takes it away from him. Justin Falk early in overtime finds McKinnon, finds Fada, a chance in Niemi with a big first save. So a good first chance there. Niemi's still wearing his Chicago mask, which is kind of strange, but nice little chance there for Fada off the hop. I don't mind getting a shot on goal early on to establish, hopefully, some momentum. Cameron on the draw again against McKinnon. What am I saying? Matt Duchene. Jeez. Falk with a bomb, and that hits off of McKinnon, I think. Paul Stastny throws it up. Nice defensive play by Cameron to intercept that pass. That was dangerous heading for Brad Richards right there. And nice hit by Cameron there. He finds Nathan. 3-on-1. McKinnon over to Fata. He scores! What a goal! Let's go, George Fata. Let's freaking go. I have to get maybe a screenshot of this guy because he's kind of starting to become one of my favorite players on this team. And Fata has tied the series up at 2 apiece. A huge overtime game-winning goal. The top line did really well in that overtime. And I could see why they'd had such good chemistry during the season too. But Fata with the goal. A nice turnover forced by Cameron. Then McKinnon with a huge pass. And then a beautiful finish from Fata, who's been a great goal scorer this entire season. Beautiful upstairs, and that ties the series up at 2. Look at Nathan McKinnon, though. Nice little play here. Great pass. Heads up play, and right onto the stick, and then Fata just walks in, goes upstairs. Beautiful. As we salute our crowd, and our goaltender does the T-pose. So shout out to Ruskovich, who's doing a T-pose right now. That's funny. Oh my goodness. That's a huge win. Huge, huge, huge. Let's actually get a screenshot of Fata while we're out there because I have not really seen him out there before. But a nice 3-on-1. That play only develops because of the forecheck of Cameron, though. Because nice little play here. And who is this? James Wisniewski gets bullied down by Cameron. Cameron then takes the puck, makes a nice little small pass. Then obviously we saw the rest of this. McKinnon walks in, makes a great little pass right underneath the stick. Fata then just walks in upstairs with that Easton yellow synergy stick. Love to see it. And he sellies really hard. Let's get a nice screenshot of him, though, if this ref would get out of my friggin' way. Let's see. Sure, we could go with something like that, I guess. He doesn't have like a good playoff beard right now, but maybe he'll grow it out by the end of the season. So there is Fata. And that's the end of the game. Let's take a look at the 3 stars. So Justin Falk got 3rd star with a goal. Vasilevsky to 2nd star. Nice response of a game from Vasi again. And then Antti Niemi got 1st star of the game for the Avs. We badly outshot them, but only scored 2 goals. Let's take a look at the stuff here. So Falk from Nyquist, and then we had Fata from McKinnon and Cameron, of course. Let's go. Huge win. At least that overtime didn't last super long, because if it lasted long, obviously this episode could run long. But we're only 23 minutes into this recording, and we are tied at 2, going into a Game 5 back in Colorado. I think this is definitely the type of series that's going to go to Game 7 at this point. It just feels like it's going to be that way. Or it could be a flip-flop, and then eventually some team's going to win 2 games in a row. So if we lose this game, we might win 2 in a row and win in 7. Or if we lose this game, maybe we lose in 6. I don't really know, but this has definitely been a close series, as I kind of expected. Now, Saturn Taku didn't think it was going to be super close, but I think it's been a pretty tight series in a way. Game 1, obviously, we lost only by 2 goals. Then we had a great game. Then we lost by 3 goals. Then we won by only a goal, so we might have got a little bit lucky there. But now we have a chance to maybe win the series. So I think we're going to keep the lineup the exact same for this game. Let's get to this next one. Game number 5 in Colorado. Last time we were in Colorado, we won 4-1. So can we find a way to win a similar outcome maybe? And can we find a way to take our first lead of the series? So far, we have not led the series. It would be really nice if we could get off to a good start here and potentially win this game and then maybe have a chance to close them out on our home ice. So with that said, let's get to game number 5. See if we could build off the momentum of the overtime from last game and if Fata could come out swinging. First period, game 5. 1-1. Okay, so very similar to last game where there's not a lot of scoring in the first period, but even shots pretty much around 11-10 in favor of them, and it's a 1-1 game. Ryan O'Reilly scored first for them, though, and then Moss scored for us, so another goal from a defenseman. Love to see that. So far, don't really know which team's playing better because it's pretty even. Can we find a way to get that lead in the second period? 2-1 us. We have the lead going into the third. Boone Jenner scores his second goal of the series. So far our team's been playing pretty good in terms of the depth scoring. Shots are 23-22, so it's still a very even game. Kind of similar to last game in terms of the low scoring and all that, but it's definitely been a bit of a defensive battle these last few games. Just got to have a good third period and maybe we could get some insurance and lock this game down. But let's see what happens. Third period underway. Can we get an insurance marker? Can we get an insurance marker? Or are we going to play good defensively? Bukestad makes it a 2-2 game. Never mind. Do we have a response to that is the question. Final few minutes of this third period, still tied at 2. Power play for us late in the game, and they got a goal late. What the hell? I thought we were going to be the one that got a late goal. And Sean Monahan has given Colorado another series lead. And now they're leading the series 3-2, just like that game ended up, as we give up a late goal after we had a power play, but we did not score on it. That's not good. So Sean Monahan has given the Avs back their series lead, and now we got to find a way to win 2 games in a row, which is doable, but it is tough against this Avs team for sure. So Moss from Nyquist and Toffoli, and then we had Jenner from Falk and Nikushkin, but yeah, Victor Rask picked up a couple assists in that third period, so he's been pretty good for the Avs as well. But that's an unfortunate goal to give up that late. And of course, it's a guy that played technically for the Calgary Flames at this point in time in real life, but not in this universe. Vasi was okay that game, but it does suck to give up that late goal, of course, to end up losing that game by only 1. So Niemi, the first star of the game, Monahan, second star, and Rask, the third star. But that game was pretty close again. We obviously could have lost the series at this point, but we still are in it. And Mackey did get injured with an injured knee, so that is going to prompt a call-up from the minors. And you guys already know probably who I'm thinking of calling up. That'd be Corbin Rodriguez. So we will move Moss back into the top 4. I'll temporarily put the depth defenseman we brought in, which is Safronov. Actually, we've drafted this guy, but I am going to call up Rodriguez at this point. I think because Rodriguez is probably going to be a full-time player for us next year, and he actually is a good lockdown defenseman as well. So let's call him up from the AHL, and hopefully the AHL could still do relatively good during their playoff run if they are still in the playoffs, which I don't know if they are still in the playoffs, but they do have a good depth down there, so it shouldn't be a huge issue. Let's put Esposito in that spot for fun, so he could punch some more faces or something like that. But yeah, hopefully the AHL still has some good success, and hopefully maybe Rodriguez coming up into the NHL could kind of give us maybe a boost defensively, just because he is more of a shutdown D-man. So I'm hoping he can do well for us, because we will not be getting our boy back for a little bit. I think it was till next round, it said. So it's not like too long term, but it does suck to lose a offensive defenseman. So let's take Safronov out. He's not really a great fit on that top 6 anyways. Rodriguez dropped down to a 77, which is kind of strange. Is that glitched out? Let me just double check. No, it is not. Let's move him maybe actually into the top 4. So we'll get Rodriguez into that top 4 spot. And aside from that, that should be decent enough. Yeah, Mackey is okay. That's fine. All right. Aside from that, I don't think there's really any other adjustments I would make. So Rodriguez has come up to the NHL to play some playoff games. Obviously, we'll see how he does. Hopefully, he can find a way to play good defensively against a high-flying Avs team. All right. Well, it's do or die. We got to find a way to win this game. We've never had the lead in the series, but if we could find a way just to win one game and then win in Game 7, we could find ourselves in the next round. So we're still in a good spot, but obviously it does suck that we only lost that game by a goal, especially how late it was. It would have been nice if we could have got it to an overtime scenario again, but let's keep the team the same for the most part, except for Rodriguez coming up. Let's see if we could tie the series up at 3 and go to Game 7 in Colorado. We got to show up for our fans here, boys. We got to show up for our fans. So far on home ice, we've not been the best. Let's get a win here. Let's get a win here. Let's show for our fans. We had a great season. We just need to find a way to get it done here in the playoffs as well. Tyler Toffoli opens the scoring. Good to see Toffoli on the board again. He used to be one of our best goal scorers, but kind of fell off behind a couple of guys afterwards. And then Cameron makes it 2-0. So good start here for us here in this first period. This is definitely our best first period of this entire matchup at this point. We outshoot them 15-6, and we're up by a pair of goals. Usually, it's the other way around where the Avs have the 2 goals and are outshooting us, but good first period there from the team. Obviously, there's still a lot of hockey left to go, so we got to be careful. Second period underway. Penalty kill to start the second, and we killed it off. We got to be disciplined, though. Stop taking penalties, please. It's a long penalty here, and we do kill that one off as well. And then we make it 3-0. Nathan MacKinnon gets on the board. Good to see MacKinnon scoring against the Avs. Kind of funny seeing him score against the Avs, but That's a really big goal at this point in the game, especially after all those penalty kills. And we will have a 3-0 lead going into the third with the shots 28-19. Can we find a way to lock them down in this third period and get it to Game 7? Game 7 will be pretty interesting to see what happens, because I feel like right now, maybe if we win this game, we're going to win in 7, but it could be still flip-flop all the way to Game 7, where we end up losing in 7 and never have that series lead. But let's see what happens. Third period underway. Let's see if we can lock this game down, tie the series up, which we should be able to do. Nathan MacKinnon makes it 4-0 on the power play. Nate Dogg with his first 2 goals, I feel like, of the series. Carter Verhaeghe beats Vasilevsky's shutout, which kind of sucks, makes it a 4-1 game. We get a shorthanded goal from the Magic Man. Love to see that. Datsuk finally on the board to make it 5-1. So that's great to see, because he hadn't scored at this point in time. They get one late, Ryan O'Reilly, but that will be the final as we win 5-2 in Game 6. We will be going to a Game 7 back in Colorado. We outshot them 40-30 and win by 3 goals. So a nice little show out for our team there to show up for our fans. And now it comes down to Game 7 where anything could happen. So Toffoli from Nyquist and Nelson. We had Cameron from Rodriguez and MacKinnon. So Rodriguez picked up a point in his first career playoff game. Love to see that, even though he's more of a defensive defenseman. MacKinnon from Cameron and Fada. That was MacKinnon's first of the series. And then he had another one from Nyquist and Cameron. And then Datsuk from Jenner. Love to see it. Any badly minus players? Probably not. No. And also, shout out to Rodriguez. That's exactly why he got called up. That's exactly why he got called up. 1 assist in those 19 minutes, and he was +3. So some great defensive results. Also chipped in with some chances offensively. And yeah, Rodriguez looking pretty good here early on. He definitely should be a full-time player for us next year. Anyways, Vasi got 3rd star, Cameron the 2nd star, and Nate Dogg got the 1st star of the game. So nice to see Nathan MacKinnon show up against his technically old team, but at this point he never played for Colorado. So anyways, 3-3 series, Game 7. Do we want to make any adjustments going into Game 7? Also, I think the Flames might have got reverse swept, because I'm pretty sure I saw that they were up 3-0 early on, and then Dallas ended up winning 7. So Nail Yakupov, despite getting dealt away from us, he's on his way to the next round. So he might get further than us this year, which would not be great. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. We didn't even take a look at how he did with Dallas, but we should probably at some point in time. Do I need to make any adjustments before Game 7? We've been very inconsistent, but we might be able to find a way to play consistently in this last 2 games. 5-3 loss, 4-1 win, 4-1 loss, 2-1 win, 3-2 loss, 5-2 win. The consistency on this team has been really weird. I don't even know what our goals for versus goals against are. I can't do the math right now on the top of my head, but trying to think if I want to make any adjustments. Because obviously if I don't make adjustments and then we lose, obviously then I'll feel like I should have made adjustments and vice versa. But we're the only Western Conference series that's gone to that's still playing at this moment. And we're only one of 2 matchups that are remaining in the playoffs at the moment, because Ottawa and Buffalo are going to Game 7 as well. So I think we're going to keep it the same. It's gotten us this far so far. Let's see what happens and see if we can win 2 in a row. Game 7 in Colorado. Last time we only lost by a goal because of a late one. Can we find a way to win 2 in a row and get to that next round? Come on, boys. Real-time simulation. They open the scoring 54 seconds in. That's not good. Brad Richards, of all people. Usually when you get scored an early goal, then you end up giving up a couple afterwards. So maybe we have a chance to get a couple of goals after this. Come on, boys. Brad Richards again. That experience from that 0-4 Cup win when he was with Tampa. Definitely coming into effect here. Shots are 12-5 in favor of Colorado, and we're down 2-0. That consistency's definitely not been good. That wasn't a great first period from Vasilevsky, but this is not good. We're not finding our offense consistently enough, and they're starting to play that good defensive game again in this one. So we need to find a way to get at least 1 goal back in the second, or else this is going to be tough. Second period underway. Can we get a goal early on to get back within 1? Like, can this be one of those periods where you get 2 unanswered goals? Because that would be nice. And So far, not looking like it. Penalty kill, and they score a power play goal, Matt Duchene. I think that's over at this point, unless our team has a heroic comeback in Game 7. Yeah, Yuri Tolusi makes it 4-0. Damn, man. So we never are going to have the lead in this series. It's literally went back and forth the entire time. And I feel like Colorado could be a favorite for the Stanley Cup just based on their roster alone, but that's a tough second period. If we would have got one back and made it only a 2-1 game going into the third, maybe we could have still won it. But coming back from 4-0 in a third period of Game 7, I don't think is very likely. Shots are 21-14 in favor of the Avs. Can we maybe give ourselves a chance? Like, if we score a couple early goals, maybe we have a chance, but maybe I'm just grasping for straws at this point. Anyways, third period underway. Power play for us to start the third. And we do get a goal from Gus Nyquist right after the power play expired. But it's probably too late at this point. Yeah, we're not scoring any more goals right afterwards. We needed to score like quick succession. Final few minutes down by 3 goals. Unfortunately, we're going to be packing our bags in the first round again, but I think it's more because we ran into a tough Avs team. I think we gave them a good run, but definitely sucks that these two teams had to face each other in the first round because I feel like both these teams should have been facing off maybe more so in a second or third round because first round, 2 really good teams. It kind of sucks that the playoffs were like this, but would have been nicer if we were the home ice team. If we actually finished with home ice advantage, would we have won the series? I don't really know, but it does suck that we end up losing in 7 games to a team that only finished a point above us. Like, I feel like if we would have gotten past Colorado, we could have gotten past anybody almost, but guess we'll find out next season if we're able to find a way to win a cup. But shots 29-28 at the end of it. We lose by 3 goals. That second period definitely kind of hurt us a bit. But our only goal is Nyquist from Cameron into Foley. Now, Nyquist is a pending UFA as well. So was that his last goal as an Oiler? Or will he come back in the offseason? Oh, goddamn, man. Rodriguez was -2 in that game, so sucks that Rodriguez had a great first game and did not a great second game, and then Tatsu kind of let us down a little bit defensively as well. Like, I brought him in to play good defensively. Meanwhile, Yakupov actually found himself to the second round. Datsuk did not. That's kind of surprising. Watch, Yakupov's probably going to be like a Conn Smythe favorite by the end of the year or something. Vasi really didn't have the best playoffs either, so we need a little bit more consistency with how we play, for sure. And like I said, I think basically it was a pretty even series on paper. It just came down to the goaltending. And obviously our goaltending, technically on paper, overall-wise, is better. But you usually simulate better in the playoffs if you have like a goalie like Niemi, who's only an 83, it seems like. So let's take a look at some stats from that first round. And then we'll find out who wins the Stanley Cup. We'll also take a look at Nail Yakupov's stats, obviously, because he's going on to the second round, which is kind of hilarious still. But yeah, it was a good series from us. Like I said, a couple guys didn't really do that good defensively, though, especially that third line that's had issues all year. But anyways, McKinnon and Cameron and Nyquist all on point per game. Fada had 6 points. Toffoli had 5. Then there's a bit of a drop-off, but guys like Boone Jenner played good. Brock Nelson didn't have the best of playoffs this year. Only 2 points in 7 games. Was hoping for more out of Brock. Obviously, he's still signed for multiple years, but definitely need more from him. Big Val had 2 points as well, but look at Datsuk. We brought him in for his defensive play on that third line, just because he was better defensively than Yakupov in the season, and he ended up playing terribly defensively in the playoffs. -5 in 7 games. Marcoux, who's also a great two-way forward, was -8 in 7 games. And then Lotti was -5 with no points. So that third line really let us down. And like I said, during the regular season, that line let us down as well. Holden didn't have any points, but he wasn't minus. So our third line needs to be much better. I love Marcoux and Lotti. Datsuk was here more as a rental. But those 3 guys really need to find their defensive game. Because you look at the plus-minus, they are by far the worst in the plus-minus department. And it was like that during the season when Yakupov was on that line too. So that third line needs some work. From a defensive standpoint, Falk was good. Mackey was solid. Moss was not very good defensively. Interesting. Rodriguez, Holinka were both good. Zherdev and Metropolit were okay. If we're still looking to move out a defenseman to get Rodriguez in full time, maybe it's got to be Terrell Moss. He's only 21, though. I do like his goal scoring ability, but his defensive play is usually his worst play. He was -6 through 14 playoff games now in his career. Regular season, a -10. Like, despite our team being good, he's always been more of a minus defenseman. We could think about moving out him if we want to get Rodriguez in, but it could also be an offensive defenseman like Zherdev instead if we want. I don't really know. And from a goaltending perspective, Vasi was very inconsistent. His stats don't look the worst on paper, but if we look game by game in that series, you can see a 5.1 goals against, a 1 goals against, a 6.23, a .97, a 3.05, a 2, and a 4.1. So basically, after he'd have a good game, he'd immediately have a bad game, and then he'd respond with a good game again. Not the best for Vasi. Obviously, he had a good regular season, didn't he? Let's see. Yeah, regular season, he was pretty solid, and last year he was even better. But he just cannot find that consistency in the playoffs the last 2 years. He's been pretty identical the last 2 playoffs, but the first time we were in the playoffs, he was really good. So I need a little bit more out of Vasi. Maybe we need to find ourselves that veteran defenseman to play on this defensive core instead of all these young guys. Like, maybe we could still look into finding somebody for his defensive core. But I kind of want Rodriguez in full-time next year. So if we did move out Moss, he would take his spot right away. And then we'd have to find another defenseman. But a veteran defenseman would be nice, but is it what we need? I'm not too sure. So there's our stats. Actually, I did want to take a look at Nail's stats in Dallas after that first round. I don't know if the Dallas Stars are going to go on to win a Stanley Cup, but if Nail wins a Stanley Cup before us, that would be kind of disheartening a little bit. Also, I forgot that we moved Jacomovs there too. I forgot that we moved Jacomovs to Dallas as well. This is his first time in the playoffs since he was with us, and he's a goal a game right now. Yeah, if this Dallas Stars team wins a cup before us, I am going to be disappointed. Jacomovs, where is Yakupov? Oh, down here. 2 assists in 7 games. How did he play during the season with them, though? After we made that trade. 6 points in 19 games, +2. Alright, I guess he figured out his game a bit defensively, but there's also Marc-Antoine Pouliot, who used to play with us on that team. So there is a lot of former players on that Dallas Stars team. There's also Oscar Klefbom. We never drafted him in the series. There's Tom Gilbert, who's dropped off probably a lot. Yep. Damn, man. And then somehow UC Saros got to the second round with an .870 save percentage. So, yeah, Dallas, if they find a way to win a Stanley Cup with our former players, that's going to be a big slap to the face. But at least we're still a young team, and we definitely still have a chance to win a Stanley Cup at some point in time. So, with that said, let's find out who wins the Stanley Cup in 2018. See if we get a realistic result as Mackey is back, which means we're going to have to just send somebody down to the AHL. So we'll just quickly send down somebody like Safronov, because obviously waivers don't come into effect in the playoffs anyways. We'll just go best lines because we're not playing anymore. Looks like our AHL team must have got eliminated early on as well because there's notifications. No notifications about the playoffs, which kind of sucks. So who's going to win the Stanley Cup in 2018? The answer to that should be relatively soon. That guy's back for the AHL. Let's go best lines down there. Philadelphia wins the Stanley Cup in 2018, and Texas wins the AHL, so Dallas's AHL affiliate won the Calder Cup. Philadelphia winning the Cup in 2018. How realistic is that? Obviously, we know the Capitals won in real life, but 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs. Let me take a look at that bracket. I'm just curious if Philly actually made the playoffs that year, because I do not remember if they did. Oh, they did, but they lost in the first round in real life to Pittsburgh. Okay. Could not remember, to be honest. So shout out to the Flyers. They actually win a Stanley Cup. They weren't that good a few years back, weren't they, in the series? I feel like they've jumped up a lot recently, so they must have a decent-looking roster now. But let's go to the playoff bracket and see what ended up going down in the NHL. It was Philly and Columbus for the Stanley Cup. That's kind of an interesting one, just based on the trades that these two teams made in the past. Like, obviously, a lot of former Flyers players played for Columbus and vice versa, like R.J. Umberger, Jake Voracek, Jeff Carter, Ole Christian Tollefson. There's like so many random names. Sergei Bobrovsky, of course, too. So that's kind of an interesting Cup Finals. Was not expecting Columbus to go that far. They actually end up knocking out Nail Yakupov in the second round. Colorado only got to the conference finals to lose in 6 to Columbus. And then Philadelphia went through Pittsburgh in the first round in 6 games. In real life, they lost to Pittsburgh in 6 games. So they were an underdog team. They were actually the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference and knocked out the top seed in Pittsburgh. They also knocked out the 3 seed in Tampa and then knocked out the 4 seed in Washington and the 2nd seed in the West in Columbus. So Philadelphia kind of had like one of those Cinderella runs, which is kind of neat. And then for the AHL was Texas and Bridgeport in the Calder Cup finals. As our AHL team lost in 5 games to Manchester, who was a lower seeded team. Damn. All right. Let's take a look at that cup-winning Philadelphia Flyers team for fun, just to see if they brought in any faces that we would recognize. Let's see. So from a forward perspective, Jeff Carter led the way for them with 30 points. They had Mike Richards, Claude Giroux, Mark Stone. Forgot that Mark Stone was there. Mark Scheifele, who obviously, no, he was drafted by them. I was thinking of Couturier in Chicago. But Milan McCulloch there, Ryan Strome was there, Anthony Mantha, Tyler Bertuzzi, Tyler Ennis, some guy named Karanen, and that's their forward group. All right. I can see a lot of top-end scoring. And then from a defensive standpoint, they had this guy named Hudson Sutton. They also have this guy named Maximus Hartman, Steve Eminger. Chris Russell goes on to win a Stanley Cup after he left us. So shout out to Chris Russell for winning a Stanley Cup. Yeah, he was actually pretty good this year defensively too. Maybe we should have held on to Chris Russell a little bit longer at this rate. Very good defensive stats the last few years. There's also this guy named Clutterbuck and Nate Prosser. From a goaltending perspective, they had this guy named Bob Yashin. Bob Yashin. Interesting. Bob Yashin's probably like Sergei Bobrovsky almost. All right, so there's the Philadelphia Flyers team that just won the Stanley Cup. Let's take a look at the awards, wrap up the season. So Philadelphia, the second Pennsylvania-based team to win the Stanley Cup in the last 3 years. Pittsburgh won the President's Trophy for the 3rd time in 5 years, and that's that. Ovechkin wins the Art Ross and the Hart. John Carlson wins the Norris. I think, yeah, he already had one before, so that's, I think, his 2nd or 3rd. Nick Backstrom, the Lady Byng, so a lot of awards for the Capitals right now. That Mers guy in Ottawa wins the Calder. Jeff Carter wins the Conn Smythe. Interesting. Steve Mason wins a Vezina. That's actually kind of sick, just because Steve Mason in real life had a really good rookie season, then fell off a cliff. But in this universe, he will actually have a Vezina. Aside from that, some young goalie for the Sens. Nieuwendyk wins the Jennings. Dan Girardi to Bill Masterton for Phoenix. Anaheim's head coach to Jack Adams. Nick Backstrom wins the Selke. That's an interesting one. Ovechkin to Lindsay and Ovechkin to Richard. So a lot of awards for the Capitals. And then AHL-wise, Ryan Smith was still playing, I guess. He was down playing for the Abbotsford Heat. Was the best goal scorer in the AHL or most points in the AHL. Anybody else down there? There's Ryan Smith again. Most of these guys are generated. Anthony Stolar's best goalie in Toronto's AHL team, which is kind of funny. Salio, Ryan Smith, Sean Morrison, or Shane Morrison, whatever one it's pronounced like. And that's it. All right, so there's the awards for 2018. Now we got to find out, obviously, the retirements and all that stuff, and obviously see what the draft class is looking like, that type of thing. So a few more things to go. Does suck to lose in the first round, but at least we're still in that beginning phase of trying to become a contender. But Minnesota wins the draft lottery. They'll have the first overall pick in 2018, which is technically Rasmus Dahlin. It would be. Montreal has the number 2 pick, Florida number 3, Vancouver number 4, and Boston number 5. All right. Any crazy retirements this year? I'm assuming Pavel Datsuk's going to retire on a roster, likely because he's 39. Maybe not, actually. Okay, maybe not. Let's take a look at these retirements anyways. So for centers, the best center to retire, Scott Gomez. There's also Mike Comrie, who used to play with us back in year number 1 and 2, I think, a bit. Vernon Fiddler retires. Don Moore. Steve Vaught's already retired. Damn. Some of these guys already retired at 35, which is kind of surprising. Ryan Shannon. Okay. From a left-wing perspective, there's Ryan Smith. So Ryan Smith had a great AHL season end, but does retire as a member of the Calgary Flames, which is kind of strange. Crazy good AHL season at the end of it. But shout out to an Oilers legend. Sucks that we could not get him a Stanley Cup with us, but at least he won one when he was with the Kings. Aside from that, Johan Franzen retires as well. Ryan Malone. Chris Kunitz retires, which is nice to see because then I don't have to think about him anymore. Nick Hagman retires. Paul Correa. Wow, Alexander Giroux actually simulated pretty good at the NHL level. Like, this guy made a really high AHL player, but looks like he was actually not that bad at the NHL level, too. Like, 11 points in 26 games 1 year. All right. Sean Avery also retires. Shout out to him. And a lot of other grindy kind of guys. Matt Cassian retired at 31. Damn. Right wing side of things, Marian Hossa has retired with the Coyotes. Sucks that he was probably playing in the AHL. Yeah, he was playing for San Antonio at the end of everything. Didn't in real life his contract get dealt to the Yotes too? I feel like they did. So that's kind of funny if that is the case. Radim Verbata. There's also Joel Ward. A lot of solid names. Jonathan Chichu retires as well. Jordan Tutu. From a defensive standpoint, the best defenseman retires Andrei Markov at 39 years of age. Francois Beauchemin. Chris Phillips is retired already at 40. Damn, man. A lot of good faces going off the board. Andre Benoit already retired too? Damn, 34 years old. At least I'm getting some sort of realism with some of these guys retiring. And then from a goaltending perspective, Roberto Luongo has hung them up at 39. So shout out to Lou. He's retired. Rick DiPietro also retires. He was injured apparently at the end of it too, which is kind of hilarious. But spent the last year of his career playing for the Rockford Ice Hogs. And he actually had some pretty good stats, but playoff time not so much. But shout out to Rick DiPietro. There's also Antero Niittymaki, Michael Telkvist, or Mikhail, I guess I should say, Jan Denis, and Matt Climie, or Climie. I don't remember how it's pronounced, but shout out to all those guys that retired. Anybody become a coach or anything? Coach-wise, we did lose Scarabelli, which I don't remember which coach that is. Probably a goalie coach. And then Springfield did not lose anybody. Nobody became a coach, it looks like. So we got a final few things to do. We got to look at the draft class, the progress reports, and the contract situation. So first and foremost, the progress reports. Did we get any crazy growth that we were not expecting this season? So Nathan McKinnon's still getting better. Cameron's still getting better. Marcoux jumped up a lot. He's actually listed as a second line forward now at 24, which means he's going to want more ice time. He is getting a lot of statistical growth, though, so he's probably more of a third line still. But he might want more ice time next year, which obviously right now Brock Nelson's in that second line center spot. Datsuk's dropped off a lot. Like I said, I don't think he's coming back. He was more of a pure rental. He's definitely a lot lower than his overall actually looks, I think, too. Boone Jenner's, I think, a pending UFA potentially. I'm not really too sure, but yeah, he's not the highest overall player in the world. We could always replace him if we want to. From a left wing perspective, Nyquist is a pending UFA. He's an 86 overall. I don't know how much he's going to cost us, but we'll see if we'll bring him back or not. Lottie's up to an 85, which is nice. Holden's a 79. He's still not looking the best. We could definitely still upgrade from somebody like Dale Holden if we want to. And then Berchi's a 79. Berchi's still more of a career depth forward, which is not bad for us. Kind of gives us a decent depth option if we really want. And then from a right wing perspective, we have Fada, who's up to an 86. Still listed as a third liner, but he is getting a lot of statistical growth. I'm hoping that he's not the type of player that's just going to want to get paid like crazy and then dip off, but he had a really good year last year. He was good for us in the playoffs again, too. So I think, obviously, he's going to be here for a while still at this point. Toffoli's only an 85. Nikushkin's up to an 81. But like I said, he's another guy we could look to upgrade from potentially. From a defensive standpoint, Falcon an 86. Holinka's up to an 83. Zhurov an 82. Moss up to an 81. Metro an 80. Rodriguez is still a 79. And Mackey's a 79. So still have kind of too many defensemen. We got to probably think about moving one out. Or we can move out multiple and basically get Rodriguez in and get a veteran defenseman in as well. But I don't know about that. Goaltending-wise, Vasilevsky's an 87, still listed as an elite goaltender at this stage. Ruskovich is 79. He's probably heading to free agency. We'll never forget the T-pose, but yeah, McClement's likely going to be the backup next season. Played fantastically for us during the season. He didn't get any playoff games in this year in the NHL, but I think it's his time to shine as the backup for us next year, which means we do have a lot of other elite goalies still at least coming. So, will be nice to see McClement at the NHL level full-time. From an AHL standpoint, other than the goalies, Parayko technically is also listed as a top 60. I don't really know how I could get both him and Rodriguez in, so maybe Parayko is a guy we trade away his rights to. But there's also guys like Tremblay who should be probably on our defense too. Was a former first-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, so Emmanuel Tremblay should be probably playing. Yeah, he was a first-round pick, top 10 selection, so I would like to get him, Rodriguez, both into the lineup, but then we'd have to move out 2 defenders instead of just 1. So somebody has to probably be involved in a trade. Safronov's still like a depth defenseman. We could bring him back, but we don't necessarily need to. I don't know if he's even a pending free agent. Ma's getting kind of close. Looks like some guys are getting some good growth at least. Damn, yeah, good stuff. From an offensive standpoint, Andrew Shaw's still minor checking forward, but still kind of like a depth forward too, which is not bad. Brock McGinn, I don't know about Brock, to be honest. We could trade away him. Alto probably should be in our NHL lineup next season, which means I think Datsuk for sure should be gone, because Alto did take a little bit of a step back this year, but he is still a very good prospect, so we want him in probably. Aside from that, a lot of other guys are kind of getting close, but not yet. Center-wise, Lowry's a depth forward. We could probably use him as a fourth-line center if we moved out from Boone Jenner. Spalling was just brought in for depth, same as Schultz kind of, so we don't really care about them that much. But looks like a lot of our low-league prospects are getting growth, which is good. All right, final things. We got to take a look at the draft class and also the contracts. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the contracts, see who is up for renewal this offseason. So, yeah, Gus is the big one. Being a pending UFA, I don't really know how long-term we want him back for if we do bring him back. He's not a super expensive guy. Like right now, he does have organizational interest. We could probably knock this down to like 5.7 for 5 years. But like I said, maybe he's somebody we'd look to replace because there is guys like Alto as well coming. But we could always sign Nyquist long-term if we want. And then aside from that, Lotte's an RFA. Obviously, Lotte's kind of getting close to a top 6 forward too. So it would be nice to have him sign for a few years. He does only want a 3-year deal at this point, but does have good organizational interest for the most part. Datsuk, like I said, likely he's going to be gone just because we have guys to replace him already. He could be maybe more of a depth forward option, but I don't think I'll bring him back. Val's an RFA still, Jenner's an RFA, Metro's an RFA. Like I said, we could always trade away the rights for Boone Jenner and even Val if we want to, just because we have kind of too many guys in that bottom 6, so to speak. And then, yeah, Metro I would probably want to hold on to, but we do need to think about that defensive core quite a bit. Berchi's a UFA. We could bring him back as a depth forward if we really want to, or we could just let him go. Holden, like I said, maybe we could trade away his rights if we want to, because we don't really have the use for him. He did get better this season, but he wasn't great in the playoffs. Mackey's an RFA as well, same with Rodriguez, McGinn. Like, there's a lot of RFAs this year, so we have to maybe make some decisions with trading the rights of some of them. We also do have a lot of guys coming to the AHL this upcoming year, like Jackman, which is exciting. Bork, too. So we have to sign more players. And then from a goaltending perspective, Ruskovich is a pending UFA. Like I said, I think he is gone just because McClemont's ready. And then Samson could come into our AHL team and play next season. So that's the contract situation. Final things we got to take a look at is the draft class. So we got to first look at our draft board. What picks do we have this year? We have our first rounder. We have a second rounder. We have 4 third-round picks, 2, 4. So yeah, that's right. And then 5, 6, 7. We do actually have the first pick in the third round, which is kind of nice. But we could definitely package some of these picks if we really want to move up in the draft. So maybe we draft higher than 20th. But for right now, let's look around 20th just to see what goes around our position. So here's the first overall pick, which is a franchise sniper, Holden Lucic. There's also another Mackey, so shout out to this guy. There's a Solovyov too. Shout out to Solovyov. So we're 20th overall. There's this guy that's a little bit before. Looks decent, but no guarantees. I don't know if I would move up for a defenseman anyways. We don't really need the craziest amount of prospects either, though. Aside from that, right around 20th, there is the guy named Pekka Puka, which is one of the coolest names ever, but do we need forwards? Probably not. I don't even really know what our focus should be at this draft. Like, we have good defensive and forward prospects. Like, do we need more of them? I don't know. Let's double check around the spot and see if there's any good potentials. Medium 6 and Whitney. Whitney looks okay. Maybe we could use maybe some more centers. I'll pin him in case. I don't feel like we need defensemen, but this guy could play both spots. So maybe we'll pin Saunders. What about Geisberger? What is he looking like? Pretty basic. Well, yeah, this draft class might be just a pretty basic one. Warren Lyon. Ooh, Warren Lyon's NHL ready. I don't want more NHL ready defensemen. The problem. Like, it looks nice on paper when you see a defenseman like that, but you got to think realistically. We already have defensemen fighting for roster spots. Do we need Lyon? Probably not, then. But we'll still pin him anyways. Let's see, anything else? Maybe Festerini, who's a grinder. Ooh, all right, 1 year out, medium top 6 grinder. That's kind of intriguing. We'll pin Jack Festerini. Was not expecting him to be a good overall, but he is going to be. Any low elites that I could pin for later rounds or medium elites for later rounds? No guarantees on medium elites, but what about low? No guarantees on low elites. We did pin this Daniel Huet guy. I don't know for sure still if he's going to be a low elite or not. There's also Jose Locke, who might be. Bill Molson. Yeah, this draft class, honestly, is pretty basic. There might be some okay players in it, but I don't think it's going to be, like, the craziest one. There's a defenseman named Alexander Ovechkin, which is funny. Huh. All right. Yeah, I'm not too sure what we really need, though. Because if we go back to that draft board and look at our prospect, like, rankings and stuff like that, our depth chart, offensively, we don't really need anything. We're literally strong in every NHL position, and in our prospects are pretty strong too. If we go to defense, it says technically our defensive core is a weakness, but we have top strength in prospects and everything like that. So defensively, like, our core isn't the best on paper, but obviously it is getting there. We already have a lot of guys trying to compete for roster spots that aren't in, like Parayko, Tremblay, technically I guess Safronov, and then also Rodriguez. We have to move people out of the spot. So this defensive core, I would say it doesn't need work, but it needs basically NHL ready players. It doesn't need prospects. And in goaltending wise, I guess apparently we don't have a top prospects in goalie really, but we do have a lot of elite goalie prospects. So I don't really know where we would focus in this draft at all. So that is definitely a tough thing. Obviously, I guess it depends on if we move away players, but honestly, we don't really need too much in this draft. We just need to maybe have a better offseason in terms of, like, free agency and all that. But yeah, this is a really weird one. Like, it's almost at that point where I'd like just keep on playing the same team over and over again. Maybe find a new coach or something like that to make it assimilate better, and then maybe we could win a cup. But right now, this team is at least still trending in the right direction. And just obviously, we don't have a lot of time left before the series ends with NHL 26 on the horizon. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the draft and re-sign stage. We'll see if we end up making any trades and offloading any specific players, like if we move out from Boone Jenner, who we move out from on defense, obviously, because our defensive core is kind of a logjam. And then obviously re-sign stage, we might let some people go. Free agency for the next episode afterwards, we will probably have to look into specific areas, but I'm not really sure on what this team needs. I think we just need to basically continue simulating almost in a way and seeing if this team takes that next step, but I'm not honestly too sure. So let's think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.